Hello and welcome to On the Bench, the weekly sports discussion show for Lincolnshire and East Yorkshire right here on Estuary TV. As always on the show tonight, we'll be bringing you a roundup of the weekend's results from our regional clubs and discussing some of the big news stories that have been hitting the headlines this week. We're delighted to be joined in the studio by Sam Kinnaird from the GrimsbyTelegraph and the KickBack Academy of Martial Arts, Will Hendry. Welcome to the show. Also coming up on the show tonight, Tom Reid will be taking your questions in a review from the Estuary, and Matt Denson tries his hand at BMX with the local organisation GYPO. Stay tuned for that one. But first on the show, let's take a look at the regional results from the weekend. Here's Team Talk. Hull beat Southend 2-0 in the FA Cup with a double from Matt Fryatt. They now face Brighton in the fifth round. In League 2, Scunthorpe drew 3-3 away at Dagenham and Redbridge. The Iron were 3-0 up, but were pegged back to 3-2 before the game was abandoned after 86 minutes. But 10 minutes later, they were resumed, and Luke Norris scored an equaliser for Dagenham. In the Scunthorpe Premier, Lincoln drew 2-2 against Woking with goals from Nat Brown and Ben Tomlinson for the Imps. It could have been a very different story, but Paul Farman saved an injury penalty from Giuseppe Sol. Grimsby's long trip to Wrexham was in vain as their weather caused a last-minute postponement. Cleethorpes Town and Grimsby Borough both had their games postponed. Cleethorpes could have gone top with a win against Pontefract Colliers, but instead of Bottisford Town took top spot with a 4-0 win against Shirebrook Town. Barnaby United lost 4-0 against Epworth Town in the Carousel Hospital Cup second round. And Brigtown lost 3-0 at Romulus FC in the Evo Stick Northern Premier. And finally, in lacrosse, Hull lost 10-2 to Newcastle, despite the fact they were only able to field 9 men and played in horrendous weather conditions. And at last, Lincoln got a win, albeit their 1-0 win was by default due to Cheadle Hume unable to get a team together to fulfil this fixture. Thanks to all the clubs for sending in your results to us, and if you'd like your team to feature in Team Talk, all you need to do is tweet us and let us know how you got on, and we'll give you a mention in next week's episode. The tweet address is @OnTheBenchTV. So let's just turn our attention to the guests. First up, we've got Will Hendry, recently inducted into the Martial Arts Illustrated Hall of Fame. What an achievement, Will. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So just tell me about how you got into martial arts way back in the day.
Way back in the day, it's bullied horrendously at school, started up with judo, went on to boxing, and then my life took a different turn. And then in the early 70s, I started doing Kung Fu.
Okay.
And then from there, it's just been one long journey.
Yeah, and you've enjoyed it, you've gone into the coaching side of it as well?
Yes, I've gone into the coaching side. I've trained, competed, coached, taught. I've taught many, many people over in Scunthorpe. Lord knows how many, but too many to count. Excuse me. A lot of them done pretty well themselves in competitions.
Yeah.
Last year we went on the circuit for the first time in a long time. The fighters achieved 3 British titles, 1 British Grand Champion title and 2 English titles.
That's pretty impressive.
Good lads, they train hard, work hard, train hard, fight easy.
Yeah. Is that your motto? Motto for life?
One of them. Our main motto is believe and achieve. A lot of people come in, they need confidence building up. They think they can't do this, they think they can't do that, and we show them that we can. Yeah.
So how do people get involved in the academy at Scunthorpe?
At the moment, again, I don't do any advertising. It's predominantly word of mouth. I've reopened again because a lot of people wanted me to start teaching again.
Right.
So
demand.
Demand and supply. I supplied. Yeah. They demanded, I supplied, and it's gone on from there. We've got full classes now. I only have so many in per class, and I stick to that number because I want quality over quantity. Which
obviously is apparent in your results for your kids there.
Yeah.
So what kind of disciplines do you teach through the levels?
Through the levels, we start off with the basics from the Kung Fu, and then we work up, we'll go through Thai boxing, Eskrima, which is Filipino martial art,
right,
and freestyle sport karate, and obviously some self-defense.
So you've got, somebody can come in and learn lots of different skills and progress through. And do you put them forward for the competitions, or do they kind of say, pick me? Or
if they want to fight, they have to train. We won't put anybody on in the fighting area, whether it's on the mats, in the rings or anywhere, unless they've been working hard.
Yeah.
So no train, no fight.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the safety of the students, safety of the competitors.
And you mentioned earlier that your life took a different road. How important is it for young people to get involved in this kind of sport, you know, to take them down the right path?
I think it's imperative. I could have ended up in a very bad way, and thanks to martial arts, it's saw me on the right path, and it's seen me through through a lot of hardships.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's given me the character to stand up and face the challenges and go on from there, really.
Fantastic. And just give us the information about the club and how people can join the club and get information.
Well, we're currently at St Paul's Church Hall on Ashby High Street in Scunthorpe, and we teach the kids 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock, well, just a little bit before 7. Then we have the adults class at 7 o'clock. And then on 8 o'clock we have another class, but that's specifically for black belts.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll get some information on the website for you. Thank you very much for that one, Will.
Thank you.
Next up on the show, Tom Reid has rounded up your questions from Twitter. Did you send one in? Watch this to find out. Here's a view from the Estuary.
Hello and welcome to this week's View from the Estuary. Will Grimsby Town's ever-growing backlog of fixtures affect results? If you look at the fixture list of the conference table, there's several teams have got games in hand, but more so for Grimsby Town. I think they're 6 behind Halifax, who have played the most, and they're in the position below them. Grimsby are facing Cambridge at home tonight, so if they can win that game, that boosts them above Gateshead. But I think ultimately the massive fixture list is going to be a problem. I mean, I think it's something like 20 games in 3 months, which is about 2 games a week. And obviously it's not a huge squad, so it is going to take its toll on the players, and they're going to start losing games that they wouldn't normally lose or shouldn't necessarily lose against teams at the bottom of the league. So if you take that into account over the long period of time, they are going to drop quite a lot of points in some cases, and that could affect where they finish at the end of the season. So although some games in hand are a bonus above people above you, but ultimately if you've got that many, it's going to be a problem. What do you think of the referee's performance between Grimsby Town and Gateshead? You just have to look at the stats and you have to say yes. I think he's a new sort of up-and-coming world great. If you look at last year's US Open, he beat Murray in the quarter-finals and then took Djokovic to 5 sets in the semi-final. You don't do that if you've got no ability or if you're sort of new to the game. And obviously he beat Nadal in this year's Australian Open. It's final. So he's definitely an up-and-coming challenger for Andy Murray. Andy Murray has the unfortunate sort of scenario that he's playing amongst some of the best, possibly 4 of the best at this moment in time. It's very rare that happens. So again, Andy Murray's going to have to step up his game because he's got another challenger there. So he's got a lot to do to beat Wawrinka, I think, in the future games. Will the World Cup distract top players from their domestic season? I'm going to start by talking about Hull, our local Premier League side. They've got a draw away at Brighton, massive trip down to the coast, but there's no reason why they can't go there and win. They've beaten Middlesbrough before the last round, which was at Southend. Obviously, they've already had 2 tough games, so I wouldn't rule out Hull beating Brighton there at all. They're only 2 games away from Wembley because the semi-finals are now there for the FA Cup. So that's something for the Hull fans to look forward to, and the club as a whole. The draw as a whole is massive. Manchester City obviously hosting Chelsea, Arsenal hosting Liverpool, the teams that either of them would have wanted to avoid. They wouldn't want to play, the big boys around themselves. They would have rather faced an Everton maybe or a Sunderland. So I think 2 massive teams are going to be knocked out there, which sort of gives way for the Hulls and the Evertons, and even Sunderland to go and get to a semi-final again. So it's looking good for those kind of sides. So I think it's going to be an interesting draw for the next round. Once again, thank you for your questions. If you have a question you would like to send, you can do so on Twitter @AskEstuary, or you can now email us on the bench at estuary.tv.
Thanks, Tom. Remember, if you want to send him a question, you can tweet him @AskEstuary. And if you want to get in touch with us in the studio, you can tweet us @OnTheBenchTV. We've got to go for a quick break, but join us again in part 2. Welcome back to the show. We're joined in the studio by Martial Arts Hall of Famer Will Hendry and from the GrimsbyTelegraph, Sam Kinnaird. Sam, tell us about your role in the Telegraph.
So I'm a news reporter, so that means I cover everything from sort of crime scenes to 100th birthday parties, anything that goes on really.
Yeah, so you're immersed in the local area?
Yes, indeed, yeah. We do a lot of politics and things like that, a lot of serious stuff, but a lot of light stuff as well.
Yeah. And you're an avid sports fan.
Yes.
And you follow Grimsby Town, is that right?
I do, yes.
Yeah, so how do you feel their season's going so far?
It's quite difficult to tell at the minute, really, because of the amount of games in hand. I think it's 6 games in hand on some teams, so it's nice to have the extra games, but you've got to get the points. Yeah,
absolutely. It is a difficult point in the season, I suppose. And we've also got quite a lot of success in the region. We've got North Ferriby doing really well, Scunthorpe, and also Grimsby Town. Yeah. So it's a good time for the local area.
Yeah, and obviously Hull in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
So it can only be good, really. I mean, the higher standard of teams around us, the better, really, especially for things like the local economy. It can only benefit.
Yeah, and just talking about Grimsby Town, how do you think their season's going to pan out? Obviously, it is in limbo stage at the minute, but how do you see their season ending?
If we can pick up a few results in the next few games, and still think we could do with 1 or 2 more players. I mean, we all wanted Alan Connell to sign, and that may still happen. But if we can get a couple of more players to just give us that boost and start a bit of a run, then I think we can still make the playoffs at least. And then it's a bit of a lottery, really. Yeah, definitely. And how do you feel about the games in hand? Is it a good thing, give the players a rest, a bit of a breather, or is it kind of too much of a backlog? It can work both ways, really, depending on the players you've got and the manager. I think it could work in our favour. Obviously, Saturday would have been a difficult game with the weather and the fact that it was Wrexham, so having the rest might not be such a bad thing. But on one hand, we've got the league, and then we've got the FA Trophy as well, which is still sort of overhanging. Yeah. I mean, do you see that as a distraction, or is it another goal for them to aim for? No, I always think that winning breeds more winning and more confidence, so I don't think you should ever look at a competition like that as a bad thing. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And obviously you've got Scunthorpe and North Ferriby as well. Do you follow the other teams in the local area? I don't know, I'm just a Grimsby fan. I like to see the other teams do well. Not so much Scunthorpe, but... Yeah. I mean, North Ferriby are a club that aren't in the spotlight as much as, like I say, Town or Scunthorpe, but they're doing really well. They're top of the Conference North. Yeah, so they're doing really well. Yeah, well, 10 years ago they might have been sort of 5 or 6 leagues below Grimsby, and now it's just one league, so... If they get promoted this season, we could be seeing them at Blunder Park next year. Fingers crossed, yeah, it would be an interesting one. And also, you've got the goal player that over the weekend. We had the incident where the goal player attempted to hit a fan. What are your views on that one? I've never seen anything like it, really, other than the Eric Cantona incident in the 1990s. It's difficult to see why any player is getting that angry with a fan. It's amazing, really. I don't really know what to say about it. Bit bizarre, really. and ironically, it is on the anniversary of Eric Cantona with that infamous kick as well. Yes, so. And I understand the manager's actually left today as well, and ex-Grimsby player Curtis Woodhouse has become the new manager, so in a way it's worked out quite well for him. Yeah, so it could be a positive, going forward, it could be a good time for the team. He was a good player for Grimsby, so... and he's also an ex-boxer, or currently a boxer, so I don't imagine he'll take any bad behaviour from the players. Yeah, I think that's going to be quite prominent maybe in his managerial skills. Yeah. Thank you very much for your viewpoints on that one. Well, as fans of the show will know, we like to send our reporter Matt Denson out to try his hand at all manner of sports in the local area. This week he delved into the spot of extreme sport and having a go at BMXing with local organisation GYPO. Take a look at this.
Up at a BMX track in Grimsby, and he's used the Chris. He's going to tell us more about what we're going to do, where we are, what all this is about.
Well, I started racing, I was from the age of about 4 years old till about 16. I was national champion a couple of times. Recently I've done my coaching badges, so I can actually coach the youth in BMX racing and stuff. Well, this is obviously a new one from BMX track. The club is giving young people opportunities, which is GYPO for short. We've been going about 10 years, but we've only had this track for probably the last 2 years. Obviously it's BMX racing, it's an Olympic sport now. We just run a weekly night on Thursday night from sort of 6 till dark, trying to get kids into the sport of BMX racing.
What, anybody into the sport?
Anyone, any age, from 6 and under to 40 plus.
So what we're going to do tonight is I thought I'll give it a go a bit later. We're going to have another victim. Never been on the track before. Chris's job tonight is to see this guy around the track in half decent time. You can do it? Yeah. Okay, very simple. Start gate there waiting for us. Tyler is up there, first time around the track. See how they get on. Okay, so off the track for the first time. Let's get a reaction from them. How did they get on?
Shaky start, but as I got used to it, it was a bit easier.
Good first go, obviously second go we got a little bit faster. A lot of BMX is confidence, a bit of belief in yourself. The best way is to build up your speed. One of the big things with BMX is something called pumping as you go over the loops, over the bumps. You kind of use your legs and your body and your arms just to pump up and down. That's what you build speed. It's something that takes a little time to learn, but you did well.
I'm 7 years old and I've been riding for 5 years. This is my dad.
I'm Mark Simpson. I've been riding for 35 years nearly. Come down every week, bring the lad, have a little play and have as much fun as possible.
Well, what do you want to do when you're older?
Be in the Olympics BMXing.
I've waited around long enough. I've done some commentary. I've watched the lads do it. I couldn't stay away any longer. I wanted to have a go. I'm going to get Chris to take me round. He's worn out. I think I can beat him. There you go. We did it. Couldn't let these young lads just do it. Nearly beat Chris. Wow, these bikes are responsive. Come down, have a go. I can't say any more than that.
Thanks for that report, Matt. Looks like a brilliant sport to have a go at. Finally, on the show, let's just turn our attention to the news that Manchester United are hoping to encourage Wayne Rooney to sign a contract extension thought to include a £300,000 a week wage and the captaincy. Should more be done like a wage cap, do you think, or possibly introduce more, I don't know, limits on wages? Because at grassroots level, we've got kids that are not being able to play the football because of funding and things like that. Sam, what are your viewpoints on this one?
It's difficult to see how anyone's worth that amount of money, but I think with employment law and legislation, it's difficult to put a wage cap on anything really. Obviously, when you say about the grassroots level struggling, that's where you want to see more funding, but it's just where the money's going to come from.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think on this one, Will? Do you think that it should be more done by the government in terms of grassroots football?
Well, both by the government and the football players themselves, helping out kids on the Sunday league and Saturday leagues and wherever you are. But I think the amount is totally obscene. I just think football players just overpaid bunch of Nancy boys kicking a bag of wind about.
Obviously, he wouldn't get in a fight with you, I don't think, Will. If it was a competition, I think we'd roll over and let you win. And just talking about the government and the FA and everything, there isn't really much support and much kind of communication, it would seem, between the two. Do you think there's something that can easily be fixed there, or is it quite a difficult one? What do you think, Sam?
I think there are a lot of problems in our game which are fairly deep-rooted, and I don't think there's any real quick answer to any of it. I'd definitely like to see more funding go to grassroots football, but as I say, it's just where the money will come from, and you just, it's like Will said, I mean, if players could contribute to it themselves, then that would be great. Yeah,
and if you could just sum up the contract in one word. Will, go first.
Really? Obscene.
Okay, and Sam?
Yeah, I'd agree with Will, obscene.
Obscene. Obscene is the word of the day. Okay, well, if you have a view on this story, remember you can tweet us at OnTheBenchTV. We'd love to hear from you. Sadly, that is all we've got time for this week. Thank you to Will Hendry and Sam Kinnaird for joining us in the studio, and thanks to GYPO for looking after Matt Denson. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.